Hi, I'm Bill Doherty, and I want to welcome the viewers to another edition of Bill's Bullpen. Bill's Bullpen is a program that's intended to give the viewers some idea of what's going on both locally and regionally. Today I have with me proponents for the Bourne Rail Trail, and I'm going to ask them individually to identify themselves. Alice, what organization do you represent?
I am on the board of the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail.
Okay. And George?
I'm a select board member, Town of Bourne, and I'm also a member of the Pedestrian Bikeway Committee.
And you're George Slade, I know that.
I am George Slade, that's right.
And George, you and I share membership on the Cape Cod Regional Transportation Authority, which was an organization that was very involved with trying to develop public transportation on the Cape. And to me, there's an element in using bicycles that is part of public transportation. So I'd like to talk a little bit about how did you all get started? Which one of you are part of an organization that got this started? Alice, tell me, how did this all get started?
Well, there were two gentlemen who were very interested, living in Bourne, Nate Robinson and John Carroll, and they got together and thought, we could do this. We could start a grassroots project and have a rail trail.
Okay, now, where is the rail trail?
Okay. If you're asking where is it currently, it's in design.
Well, let's talk about...
Okay, so...
Well, it's always good to talk conceptually. Okay, what is the concept of the rail trail?
The concept is a 6.5 mile rail trail to connect Falmouth, their Shining Sea Bikeway path, that's in North Falmouth by Route 151, to the Bell Road Cape Cod Canal pathway.
Oh, okay.
So that's 6.5 miles through the most beautiful parts of Bourne. Beautiful, right along the coast. And there is a railroad, that's why we call it the rail trail, and currently the plans are to build next to the railroad. And so that's 6.5 miles. Back in 2016, I was very interested in having a safe route. Shore road and county road, very dangerous for biking, very dangerous. And when I heard about this project, I got on board. I thought it would be fantastic. And I live in Pocasset. I live near where the rail trail would be. And I really got tired of putting my bike on the back of my car and dragging it to Falmouth. And just the idea of having a trail that would connect with the canal. So the canal, what we call the missing link, the Bourne, and then Falmouth to Woods Hole would give 24 uninterrupted miles. And the greater vision is to connect it to Sandwich, and they are working to connect to Yarmouth, Hyannis, so that we have a continuous path all around the Cape.
Okay. Now, and what, George, what organization do you belong to that's connected with this?
Well, both. Actually, being a select board member, this was brought before, there was a document that was printed by the Cape Cod Commission back in 2016 or early 2017, and it was a plan, and it showed what a rail trail would look like, and as Alice alluded to, there's different options, but we are assuming that railroad track is going to continue there, so this is going to be rail with trail. And it was brought before us, and we embraced it. I think there's a lot of, what Alice alluded to was there's a lot of passion for biking and just outdoor exercise, and we embraced it. And we, in early 2018, we formed a pedestrian bikeway advisory committee. We don't do much other than facilitate this whole process. And that's where we've been at it for about 3.5 years.
No, it occurs to me that Glenn Cannon, who used to be a direct report when I was a county commissioner, is was part of the transportation committee that wrote up that bike plan.
That's right.
Okay,
Very
so you have
instrumental.
you have actually somebody in town hall that actually knows a lot about it, that's in a strong administrative position.
That's correct.
That gives me a little bit more confidence, in, in it. Okay, now this all starts with funding. Where do you get your money?
It all starts with community support. That's where it begins. Because if you don't have community support, you won't get the funding. The funding ultimately will be state and federal for the big chunks and the Transportation Improvement Plan, the TIP. But what we as a community have to show Mass DOT, Massachusetts Department of Transportation, we have to show that our community is backing this and is supporting this. And back in 2016, I got volunteers together to stand with sheets for people to fill out who would support this. And we stood at Bell Road and 151. As people were getting on and off the bike paths, we would say, would you support something like this? Please give us your email. And we have over 1,000 supporters. And what happens is we have gone to the community preservation funds to request funding from the town for, I guess, I don't know if it's called seed money, but to show that the town is behind this, to show Mass DOT. And what has happened is the Community Preservation Committee has put forward in the past 4 years, we've gotten $250,000 from the town of Bourne. But with that money, we've been able to turn it around because we have gotten grants. And that money, we have to put up money from the town. So we show the grant people, Mass Trails, we have gotten over $2.5 million in our investment for $250,000 that the town has supported us.
Okay, well, sadly, my recollection of being involved with transportation projects is there is a long interval between the beginning and the end. I believe it's between 7 and 8 years, because I remember the debacle of they called it shovel-ready projects, and they wouldn't put any more money into things that could be completed. It had to be brand new, and since all of us who were involved in it, I remember they had the Secretary of Transportation at one of the meetings I was at, at NACO, and I said, that's the National Association of County Officials. Anyway, I said, why don't you let us use that money that you're talking about to complete the stuff that's underway? And they said, oh no, it has to be brand new stuff. And I said, you either have no knowledge of how these things work, or you just, this is just a, you want to put up signs, like was it the $250,000 for the evacuation signs to get up Cape Cod when there's two parallel roads, they get off. So, as you recall, one goes north and south, the other goes east and west. But that's another transportation issue. But okay, so you say you live near where the rail trail would be in Pocasset. I don't know if people really understand where that railroad goes. Give us a little bit more context about that.
Well, the project has been divided into 4 phases. The first phase is, phase 1 is Bell Road to connect the Cape Cod Canal path with the Bourne Rail Trail.
Okay.
So that's phase 1, and it goes to Gray Gables, the village of Gray Gables.
Okay, and that's about a half a mile, maybe?
It's a half mile
Okay,
is phase 1.
Okay. Where is that? I mean, where is it in terms of its progress or state?
It's, well, actually, we just had a meeting with Mass DOT. It was a Zoom, so that the town, and it was a public comments it was just last month, for the town to weigh in residents to weigh in on for the 25% of the design of phase 1. Now, phase 2.
Okay, let's stop right there, because one of the problems, a lot of things where we have town involvement, and George, I think you've run into this several times where nobody ever talked to me. Okay, did you have some some sense of how many people participated in your Zoom meeting?
I actually don't know that, but
I think it was pretty significant. I think you can actually see the number of participants if you look
Okay.
at the lower left-hand side, depending on what Zoom.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is, for a project, $2.5 million, you have a $71 million or $73 million budget in Bourne. Okay, so it's significant in terms of the amount, but the other piece is, in order to make sure that you're getting continuing support, did you have, in your opinion, did you have the population density support, for your Zoom meeting, in terms of making it, credible to DOT?
yes. Our organization, the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail, we have a website, bournerailtrail.org, and it's pretty comprehensive. There are, on that website, has maps and shows where the different phases are, what we as an organization have done each year. This organization, our organization, also sends out newsletters. And our newsletter goes to all of the supporters, and most of them are in the town of Bourne.
Okay,
So
this would be an opportunity for you to promote that newsletter access. If somebody wanted to get that newsletter, what do they do?
all they have to do is go to bournerailtrail.org, and up on the top of the screen, it has, the latest news and who's on the board, and if you want to donate, but it also says if you want to, you just click on it and you fill it out. We do not ask, our organization asks for no money from residents. We ask for support. And I just want to give you a small example of how the town has really embraced this. The TIP, there were meetings about the Transportation Improvement Plan, and we were told by the Cape Cod Commission that we really need to get the support of the town. We want to hear from them as to, do they think this is a viable project? The Cape Cod Commission said yes, but now we need to hear from Bourne residents. We sent out letters asking our supporters to send letters of support to the TIP. And I was at a meeting when the Steve Tupper, who's with the Cape Cod Commission, had asked about, you need to get your supporters, get them write letters. We went home, we did that, and sometimes you don't know how many people are supporting. You don't get that feedback. I happened to run into him at another meeting, and I said, Steve, can you tell me, I'm just curious, do people respond? Because we send out newsletters and asking for support. And he said, I gotta tell you, Alice, we got more letters for your project than any other project on Cape Cod. So your organization is doing something right. You're getting to people. That to me said, okay, we may not know every day who's out there supporting us, but when push comes to shove, these people, they send out letters.
Alice, I have to tell you that I spent several years on the Cape Cod Commission, and one of the things that was very difficult to get was evidence of community support. So I think, from my point of view, you're absolutely on target with regard to what you need to do in order to get community, behind it. Because the next step is, George, what is your organization's connection with, let's say, with what's gone on so far?
Well, we interface with them. We know a lot of the members of the the Friends. And like I said, we organized in 2018
No, you organize a town committee, right?
a town committee.
Okay,
It's
so
a
the
town
town committee.
administrators committee.
All right, and how many members are there on the town committee?
There are 5 members.
Okay.
I could name them. Dave McPherson, he's the chair. John Carroll, Ken Chetlin, Mark Emmons, and myself.
Okay, now, are any members of your committee also members of their organization?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's also support from Town Hall. Tim Lydon, who's our engineering tech. I would love to have him here, but he's out today. But he provides a lot of information. He's very handy with doing maps, and he's quite amazing. Matter of fact, identifying the crossings, the street crossings and
Well,
bridges.
that's really, one of the things that, as far as bike riding, I know that, in Barnstable, for example, you've got 6A, and 6A is like a path, okay? And there's no room to put, a bike, I'll say a bike lane on it. Recently, I think you've seen that they're trying to extend the rail trail or the bike trail down to Provincetown, and they're putting I guess they're trying to include a lane, for bikes, going down there. Sadly, when you go through places like Eastham becomes, instead of a state highway, it looks more like a city street, and there's very very little space there. So the issue becomes, how do we? And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. How are you incorporating safe use of bicycles, in this project? Who addresses that as far as your organization?
Well, getting bicycles off the street and onto a bike trail is a safety. That's promoting safety. Safety is the biggest concern. To get kids off, busy roads.
Okay. And on safety with kids, when I was growing up, I remember being on Memorial Drive in Cambridge, and somebody saying, there were cars that, that were right on your back, and they had an old bicycle. I didn't wear a helmet. I didn't wear elbow pads or knee pads. Is there a uniform, is there specific safety equipment that you recommend for everybody? Talk a little bit about that, because we're talking about using the trail, but what is some of the equipment that you would use the trail safely?
Well, obviously, helmets. People will have helmets. But I just want to backtrack. It's not just a bike trail. This is a multi-use path. And that means walkers, baby carriages, everybody who wants to take a walk with their dog can go on these bike paths. And I hesitate to say bike because it's a multi-use path.
Okay.
And that path alone, because of getting people off the streets and on a path, that's a great answer to the difficulties. The other thing about building these paths is that it is a boon to the economy.
Really?
Oh, yes. In fact, if I can, people who live along the bike path in Falmouth, the Shining Sea Bikeway, their homes have increased in property value because they live along the bike path. If you look up TripAdvisor, things to do in Falmouth, the Shining Sea Bikeway is right up there as a activity to do. That has increased a lot of economic opportunities, bike shops, Airbnbs, just little stores to people, so that we could see that the Lobster Trap, the Chart Room, even the market in Pocasset, these areas are going to have a great deal of more business because they're along the bike path. Interesting, I just read an article recently, the in Allegheny, from Pittsburgh to Cumberland. That bike path generated in 2019 $191 million to their economy, and it will bring money to the town of Bourne. It will bring people who might miss Bourne because they don't have access to it. And
George
so,
and I can speak to the fact that Bourne is not the doormat of Cape Cod, it is the golden doorway to Cape Cod.
absolutely,
Well put.
absolutely. So I'm just saying that it's not just the safety. I mean, it is safety first, but then you look at the economics of having a bike path or a multi-use path, because it really will bring a lot of positive benefits to the town of Bourne. And as I said, people in the realtors in Falmouth have said, people come to them and say, we want to live near the bike path. We want to live near this path.
Yeah, I should've- when I sold, I lived on a bike path
said in Harwich.
and I guess I should have held out. I sold the house to my daughter, so I should have held out for more money. I mean, if I'd known that.
You could have. Well, you
I
know,
guess-
the other thing, Bill, is that people forget how long it takes to build something of, even if it's 6.5 miles. The Shining Sea Bikeway started in 1974. And in 1998, they finished up the last of the connections. And so when I came on board, literally, with the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail, I knew this was not going to be an overnight thing. It's hard to keep people, you know, some people go away for the winter, they come back in the summer, they go, what, the bike trail isn't ready yet? I thought it was going to be done. You know, it just, you know.
There was a bridge over the Bass River, if you recall. That's
yeah,
the connection between Dennis and and the rest of it, and that took us 4 years. At the same time, we had to get DOT to come down and take a look at the getting heavy vehicles off of the side streets, because they weren't letting them go over the other bridge that goes over the highway, because nobody would come down and take a look at the span part. But so getting DOT on board is very important. I think we had more luck with it when Tommy Cahere was still, the deputy, and sometimes, you have to give him a call, because, he's a triathlete, I think, and all of that.
We have him
He's on board.
on our speed dial, if you want to call it that. He's intricately involved in a lot of our
Okay.
activity.
All right. So we basically, we're in the process of, let's say, completing and have completed the design for phase 1. Okay, we're now contemplating going forward, I guess, in a application phase. And how many more phases are there?
There's 4 altogether.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about phase 2 and the rest of them.
I can tell you that geographically, phase 2 begins where phase 1 ends, right around Monument Neck Road in Gray Gables.
Okay.
And that goes to Monk's Park, which is it's around 2 miles. It's 4 times the length of the first phase, but it does take you through the rest of Gray Gables, but also down through Monument Beach.
Okay.
Past the Lobster Trap and through Monument Beach Center, if you want to call it that, near Chester Park, and it terminates at Monk's Park, which is, I guess it's right near the Monument Beach Pocasset line. It's not a governmental body, but it's that in that area. That's the end of phase 2.
Everybody knows there's Mo Beach and there's Pocasset.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then phase 3 begins there and takes you to Scraggy Neck in Katomet.
And that would get them close to where I live.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're in your backyard pretty
Yeah.
much. And then that is just north of the Scraggy Neck Road, which is right, if you go downtown Katomet, that's where it is. The playground's there, the post office is there. And then the final phase is 4, and this is kind of a little wrinkle here. 4 goes from just north of that bridge that goes through Katomet Center there and takes you down to the Falmouth town line. Now the wrinkle here is that the Falmouth Shining Sea Bikeway ends in County Road in North Falmouth. That's not the town line. They could not proceed any further when they built the Shining Sea because we're talking about a wooded area. And in order to get to the Bourne town line, you have to go from North Falmouth through basically the woods. I mean, part of it's residential areas, and it would border that. But the Bourne town line is about 0.8 of a mile from the end of the Shining Sea Bikeway. So when we started work on this, the design and everything, I said, we've got to consider our relationship with Falmouth. So we have been working side by side, securing funding for not 2, not 3, but phase 4. We've skipped to phase 4 because that is something that we have to be doing in tandem, because DOT will not build a bike trail that terminates in the woods. They just can't do that. So we've decided to work with the Falmouth Bike Committee, and we're working in tandem with them, securing funding. They want to complete that, and if we get phase 4 done, that will complete the Shining Sea all the way from Woods Hole through the entire villages of Sippawisset and West Falmouth, North Falmouth, and take you right up to the Bourne town line. And if we're finished with phase 4, that will take us into Katomet.
So phase 4 is actually the one we're concentrating on with phase 1.
Yeah.
So phase 1 and 4 are being really completed first.
Well, I have to congratulate you on maintaining what I'd call continuing interest of people in the project, because that's, to sustain interest in something, however important, based upon the, I'd say, the glacial way that, that projects, tend to operate. And believe it or not, we're almost at the end of all of this. So I would ask Alice, I said, what kind of a takeaway would you want folks to have, at the end of all of this?
I would ask that if they are interested in supporting this project or learning more about it, is to go to the Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail website, because that is so, it has so much information. It's up to date, and you can, believe it or not, you can even buy merchandise from it. All the money goes back into the project.
I think that's an important thing for people to hear, that if they are buying merchandise, and this goes for most organizations, it does help support the organization, as well as giving some visibility to it, in the community. And that's all part of it. So the most important thing, I guess, in your takeaway is bournerailtrail.org is where you can connect, be part, get the newsletter, and also, buy memorabilia. And by the way, thank you very much for the hat. I appreciate that. My son, who used to take his bicycle from Wellesley to Mass General when he was going to, when he was working down there, years ago, would appreciate the fact that I actually have something that looks like a biker. So that's another story. So anyway, I want to thank Alice Howe from the
Friends of the Bourne Rail Trail.
And George Slade, the selectman who also represents the
Pedestrian Bikeway. Alice
pedestrian
alluded to the
bikeway.
fact that we do, this is
Okay.
a pedestrian bikeway too, not just a bikeway. And it's meant for safety, and I don't know how much time we have left, but Shore Road and County Road are both old roads, and we want to make sure that we're taking people off so they're not riding their bike along sand, breakdown areas.
We all live in hope that people have common sense and pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
And with that, I want to thank both of you for coming, and I want to thank the viewers for spending some time to find out more about this project, this important project that's enhancing the quality of life here in Bourne. I'm Bill Doherty, and you've been watching a production of Bourne TV.